The signal reached the Caltharian Empire on a Tuesday morning, though the aliens who received it did not count their days the same way humans did. The message was simple, transmitted in basic mathematical sequences that any spacefaring civilization could understand. It said, "We are humanity. We come in peace. We wish to talk." In the grand throne room of the Imperial Palace, Emperor Vexthor sat on his crystal seat and laughed. Around him, his council members joined in the laughter. They had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. They controlled 847 star systems. They had seen hundreds of primitive species take their first steps into faster-than-light travel. This was nothing new. "Another one," Vexthor said, his voice echoing through the massive hall. "How many does this make, Overseer Dalmon?" Dalmon stepped forward and bowed. He was tall, even for a Caltharian, with blue-gray skin and 3 eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. "This is the 53rd new species to contact us in the last century, my Emperor." "And where are they located?" "A small system on the outer edge of the Orion Arm, Excellency. They call their world Earth. It orbits a yellow star. Nothing special about it." The Emperor waved his hand dismissively. "Send them our standard terms. 60% taxation on all resources. Their young males will serve in our military. They will accept imperial governors. The usual arrangement." Dalmon hesitated. "Should we send a diplomatic envoy first, my lord, to study them?" Vexthor's 3 eyes narrowed. "Are you questioning my judgment, Overseer?" "No, Excellency. Forgive me." Dalmon bowed deeper this time. "Good. Take a garrison fleet. Show them our power. If they are wise, they will accept immediately. If not..." The Emperor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Make an example of one of their colonies. Nothing teaches respect like ashes." Dalmon left the throne room and prepared his fleet. 89 warships, each one kilometer long and bristling with plasma cannons. It was more than enough to crush any resistance. He had done this many times before. New species always followed the same pattern. First, they were excited to meet other intelligent life. Then, they saw the Empire's might and understood their place in the universe. Finally, they bowed their heads and accepted their fate. On Earth, the message from the Caltharian Empire arrived 30 days after humanity's first transmission. The world leaders gathered in Geneva, in the Great Hall of the United Terran Coalition. Representatives from every nation sat in the circular chamber, their faces projected on screens for those who attended virtually. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the center podium and read the Empire's demands. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she held the data tablet. "They want 60% of everything we produce," she said. "They want our children to fight in their wars. They want to put their governors in charge of our planets, and they give us 30 days to agree." The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates shouted in anger. Others argued for caution. A few sat in stunned silence. President Morrison of the North American Federation spoke first. "How many ships do they have?" "Our telescopes detected 89 warships entering Neptune's orbit," answered General Zhao from the Military Council. "Each one is massive, far larger than anything we have built." "Can we fight them?" Morrison asked. General Zhao looked uncomfortable. "We have 340 ships in our defense fleet, but their technology appears more advanced. Our analysts estimate we would lose any direct battle." "Then we have no choice," said Chancellor Adeyemi of the African Union. "We must accept their terms. At least we will survive." Ambassador Chen Wei slammed her hand on the podium. "Survive as slaves? Is that what we fought for? Is that why we united after World War III? So we could bow to the first bully who threatens..." "Hush! Be realistic, Ambassador," said Prime Minister Tanaka of the Pacific Alliance. "Look at history. When a superior force meets an inferior one, the weaker side always loses. Always." "History?" Chen Wei's voice rose. "Our history is full of underdogs who won against impossible odds. We are humans. We survived ice ages. We survived pandemics. We survived nuclear war. And now you want to give up without even trying?" The debate raged for hours. In the end, they called for a vote. Every human being over the age of 16 could cast their decision through the global network. The question was simple. Accept the Empire's terms or refuse and fight. The world held its breath for 24 hours as votes were counted. When the results came in, 68% had voted to refuse. Admiral Marcus Rivera sat in his office on the moon base, staring at the voting results on his screen. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. He had commanded the Terran Defense Fleet for 8 years. In that time, he had prepared for this exact moment. He pressed the communication button on his desk. Admiral Rivera to all fleet commanders. Execute Protocol Defiant. I repeat, execute Protocol Defiant. Across the solar system, 340 ships began moving into position. Some hid in the asteroid belt. Others positioned themselves near Jupiter's moons. A few remained visible near Earth, ready to draw the enemy's attention. In the Seridar, Darkness Between Stars, Overseer Dalmon received humanity's response. He read it twice, unable to believe what he was seeing. They refused, he said to his second officer. These primitives actually refused? Yes, Overseer. They sent a message saying they will defend their freedom. Dalmon felt a mixture of anger and something else. Was it respect? No, that was impossible. They were just another primitive species that did not understand their place. Set course for Earth, he commanded. All ships, combat formation. We will show them what happens when you defy the Caltharian Empire. The fleet began its journey toward the Sol system. Dalmon expected the battle to last a few hours at most. He had no idea that he was about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, Admiral Rivera watched the approaching fleet on his tactical display. Beside him, Dr. Sarah Okonkwo checked her instruments one final time. All systems ready, Admiral, she said quietly. Rivera nodded. Then let them come. It is time to show the galaxy what humanity can do. The countdown to war had begun. Admiral Marcus Rivera walked through the memorial hall, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The walls were covered with names. Millions of names. Every person who died in World War III. He stopped at one section and placed his hand against the cold stone. His daughter's name was there. Sarah Rivera, age 9, dead in the nuclear fire that consumed São Paulo. That was 200 years ago, but humanity never forgot. The war had started over resources, oil, water, rare earth metals. Nation fought nation, alliance fought alliance. For 15 years the world burned. Nuclear weapons turned cities into glass. Biological weapons created plagues. When it finally ended, only 3 billion humans remained out of 10 billion. In the ashes of that nightmare, something changed. The survivors looked at what they had done and made a choice. Never again. Not to each other. The United Terran Coalition was born from that promise. Every nation kept its culture, its language, its identity. But they shared everything else: technology, resources, knowledge. And they prepared for the next threat, because humanity learned a hard lesson. The universe was dangerous. If they could almost destroy themselves, what could beings from other worlds do to them? Rivera left the memorial and returned to his command center. The room was deep beneath the lunar surface, protected by hundreds of meters of rock and steel. Screens covered every wall, showing data from across the solar system. Status report, he said as he entered. Commander Jackson looked up from her console. She was younger than Rivera, only 35, but she had trained her whole life for this. The Caltharian fleet is 3 days away, sir. They are not trying to hide. They want us to see them coming. Good. That means they are confident. Confident enemies make mistakes. Rivera sat in his command chair and brought up tactical displays. What about our assets? All ships in position. The asteroid belt network is online. Earth's orbital platforms are ready. Mars and Titan bases report full readiness. Rivera nodded and opened a private channel. Dr. Okonkwo, please report to the command center. 5 minutes later, Dr. Sarah Okonkwo arrived. She was a small woman with dark skin and bright, intelligent eyes. She carried a data tablet covered in equations that would confuse most people. But Rivera understood them. He had worked with her for years. Show me what we have, he said. Sarah smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment. Project Thunderbolt is ready, Admiral. All 600,000 units. She pulled up a hologram showing Earth's solar system. Small red dots filled the space between planets, concentrated heavily in the asteroid belt. Each unit is a drone, no bigger than a car. They have one purpose: to accelerate to 0.3 light speed and hit whatever we point them at. Kinetic missiles, Rivera said. Exactly. The Empire uses energy shields designed to stop plasma and laser weapons, but shields are not very good against solid objects moving at relativistic speeds. Each drone hits with the force of a nuclear bomb. Rivera studied the display. And the railguns? Mounted on every ship. We borrowed the idea from old Earth navies. Instead of firing explosive shells, we fire solid metal slugs using electromagnetic acceleration. Our largest cannons can fire a projectile at 0.5 light speed. Commander Jackson whistled.
How much damage does that do?
We tested it last year on an abandoned asteroid, Sarah said. A 1-kilogram slug punched completely through 5 kilometers of solid rock. The enemy's hull armor will not stop it. Rivera turned to another display. This one showed humanity's warships. They looked different from the sleek Caltharian vessels. Human ships were ugly practical things. Lots of armor. Lots of guns. No wasted space on decoration. Tell me about the AI network, Rivera said. Sarah's expression became serious. This is our biggest advantage, Admiral. Every human ship is connected through quantum communication. Our AI system processes data from all sensors simultaneously. It predicts enemy movements before they happen. It coordinates all our ships as if they were one organism. The Empire does not have this. No, they use individual ship computers. Each captain makes their own decisions. It makes them predictable. Rivera leaned back in his chair. He thought about the 89 ships coming toward Earth. Each one was bigger and probably more powerful than his ships. But power was not everything. Intelligence mattered. Strategy mattered. And most of all, desperation mattered. There is one more thing, Sarah said quietly. The gravity issue. Explain it to the commander, Rivera said. Sarah turned to Jackson. We analyzed their ship designs from the probe data. Everything about them suggests they evolved on low-gravity worlds. Probably 0.4 or 0.5 Earth gravity, so? Jackson asked. So humans evolved in one full gravity. Our bones are stronger. Our muscles are denser. Our hearts are more powerful. When we started space travel, we had to overcome Earth's strong gravity. It made our rockets powerful, our engineering robust. And them, they never had that challenge. Their ships accelerate slowly. Their maneuvers are gentle, and we think their pilots cannot survive high-G combat turns. Rivera stood up and walked to the main display showing Earth. The planet turned slowly, blue and white and beautiful. Somewhere down there his grandchildren lived. They were the reason he would not surrender. How long have we been preparing for this? He asked the room. Since the Mars colony was established, Commander Jackson answered. 150 years. And how many simulations have we run? 47,000 different scenarios, Sarah said. We have planned for first contact with hostile aliens since before any of us were born. Rivera thought about that. 47,000 simulations. Generations of scientists, engineers, and military officers working toward this moment. After World War III, humanity promised never to be unprepared again. While they sent peaceful messages to the stars, they built weapons in secret. Just in case, what are our chances? Jackson asked. Rivera was quiet for a moment. Honestly, unknown. We have never fought aliens before. All our simulations are based on assumptions. But I know one thing about humanity. We are survivors. We adapt, we overcome, and we never, ever give up. He pressed a button and opened a fleet-wide channel. Across the solar system, 340 captains heard his voice. This is Admiral Rivera to all commanders. In 72 hours, the Caltharian Empire will reach our home. They expect us to surrender. They think we are weak because we are new to space. They do not know our history. They do not know what we survived to get here. They do not know that every human ship was built by people who remember the war, who remember what happens when we fail to defend ourselves. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. Our ancestors nearly destroyed themselves fighting over pieces of one planet. We learned from that mistake. We united, we prepared. And now we face our first test as a species. Show them what humanity is capable of. Show them why you do not threaten our home. All ships prepare for combat operations. Protocol Defiant is now active. Across the solar system, human ships powered up their weapons, railguns charged, missile tubes loaded, drone swarms activated, and 340 captains smiled grimly, ready for the battle that would decide humanity's future. Overseer Dalamon had no idea what was waiting for him. The Caltharian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 89 warships dropped back into normal space near Neptune's orbit, their shields glowing with contained energy. On the bridge of his flagship, Overseer Dalamon studied the tactical display with satisfaction. No resistance ships detected, his sensor officer reported. We are reading primitive satellites and space stations, but no military vessels. Dalamon nodded. This was normal. New species always hid their fleets near their homeworld, hoping their planet's defenses would protect them. It never worked. Set course for the third planet, Earth, standard approach speed. I want them to see us coming. The fleet began its journey inward past the gas giants, past the asteroid belt. They moved slowly, deliberately. Dalamon had learned that showing overwhelming force often prevented battles entirely. Fear was a weapon as powerful as plasma cannons. 2 days later, the fleet reached Mars orbit. Still no sign of human ships, Overseer, his communication officer said. We are receiving a transmission from Earth. Put it on screen. An older human male appeared wearing some kind of military uniform. His face was weathered, his eyes hard. I am Admiral Marcus Rivera of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have entered our space without permission. Turn back now. Dalamon laughed. His officers joined him. I am Overseer Dalamon of the Caltharian Empire. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Deploy your ships where we can see them. Power down your weapons. Prepare to receive Imperial governors. This is your final warning. Rivera's expression did not change. You picked the wrong species to threaten. You have 1 hour to leave our system. This is your final warning. The transmission ended. Dalamon's laughter died. Did he just threaten us? I believe so, Overseer, his second officer said quietly. Impossible. They must be insane. Dalamon stood up from his command chair. Continue toward Earth combat formation. Prepare all weapons. When we reach their moon, we will demonstrate what happens to species who defy the Empire. The fleet moved forward. They passed the orbit of Earth's moon. Still no human ships appeared. Dalamon began to feel uneasy. Where were they? Overseer, the sensor officer suddenly shouted. Multiple contacts. Behind us. The tactical display exploded with red markers. 50 human ships had appeared from the asteroid belt, emerging from behind the floating rocks where they had been hiding. They accelerated rapidly, far faster than any Caltharian ship could move. How did they hide from our sensors? Dalamon demanded. Unknown, sir. They must have some kind of stealth technology. The human ships opened fire. Dalamon expected plasma bolts or missile launches. Instead, the human weapons were almost invisible. No bright energy beams, no glowing projectiles, just impacts. The ship directly to his left suddenly had a hole punched through its center. The hole was perfectly round, as if a giant drill had gone through the vessel from front to back. The ship's reactor exploded a moment later. What was that? Dalamon screamed. Kinetic weapons, Overseer! They are firing solid projectiles at extreme velocity. More impacts. More holes. The Caltharian shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did almost nothing against physical objects moving at a significant fraction of light speed. It was like trying to stop a bullet with a flashlight. Return fire. All ships, return fire. The Caltharian plasma cannons began firing back. Beautiful streams of superheated gas lanced through space toward the human ships. Several hits connected and Dalamon saw human shields flare and fail. 2 human ships exploded, but the humans did not slow down. They kept coming, kept firing, and their accuracy was terrifying. Every shot seemed to hit exactly where it would cause maximum damage. How are they coordinating so perfectly? They are using some kind of network targeting system, his tactical officer reported, reading Dalamon's thoughts. All their ships are sharing sensor data. They are predicting our movements. A human destroyer flew past the flagship's view screen, so close that Dalamon could see it clearly. It was ugly compared to Caltharian ships. All sharp angles and exposed weapons. No elegant curves. But it moved like a dancer, spinning and twisting in ways that should be impossible. They are pulling 15 gravities on that turn, his navigator said in shock. Our pilots would die from that acceleration. Then what are they? No one had an answer. The humans seemed to treat extreme acceleration as normal. Their ships twisted and turned with impossible agility, while Caltharian vessels moved in gentle arcs, limited by their crew's biological tolerance. The battle continued for another hour. Dalaman's fleet outnumbered the humans, and Caltharian plasma cannons were destroying human ships. But for every human vessel that fell, 3 Caltharian ships died. The mathematics were terrible. "Overseer, we have lost 42 ships," his second officer reported. His voice was shaking. "The humans have lost only 12. Dalmon stared at the tactical display in disbelief. This was not how battles worked. Superior numbers always won. Superior technology always won. But the humans were winning through speed, coordination, and weapons the Empire had never anticipated. "All ships activate emergency protocol. Jump to faster than light on my mark." "Sir!" "Sensors are detecting thousands of new contacts." The display updated. Swarms of small objects were emerging from hiding spots throughout the solar system. They were everywhere. In the asteroid belt. Behind Earth's moon. Near Mars, tens of thousands of them. "What are those?" Dalmon whispered. "Analysis shows they are unmanned drones, Overseer. They are accelerating toward us." The drones move fast. Much faster than any crewed ship could safely move. They accelerated at 50 gravities, then 100, then more. Each one was small, barely 3 meters long. But there were so many of them, and they were so fast. The first wave hit the Caltharian fleet 30 seconds later. Each drone was simple. Just an engine, a guidance system, and mass. When they hit at 30% light speed, they released energy equivalent to nuclear weapons. The Caltharian shields could stop the first impact, maybe the second. But when 20 drones hit the same ship in 5 seconds, nothing could withstand it. Ships began exploding everywhere. The fleet formation collapsed as captains tried desperately to evade the swarms. But there was nowhere to go. The drones came from every direction. Dalmon watched his fleet die. He had commanded these ships for 20 years. He knew every captain, and now he was watching them die because he underestimated a species he knew nothing about. "Overseer, we must retreat," his second officer begged. "We have lost 60 ships, 70, 80. Dalmon's hands shook as he gripped his command chair. The Empire had not lost a battle in 3,000 years. This was impossible, but it was happening. "All ships," he said, his voice hollow. "Emergency jump. Scatter pattern. Retreat to the rally point." The few surviving Caltharian ships activated their faster-than-light drives. Dalaman's flagship was the last to jump. As the ship prepared to leave normal space, he took one final look at the tactical display. The human fleet was reforming, regrouping. They had lost 18 ships. The Caltharians had lost 84, and Earth still stood, untouched. The flagship jumped to FTL and the Sol system disappeared behind them. Admiral Rivera stood in his command center, watching the last enemy ship vanish from sensors. The room was silent. No one cheered. They had won, but the cost was visible on every screen. 18 ships destroyed, 3,000 sailors dead, another 5,000 wounded. "Status of our defensive systems?" Rivera asked quietly. 70% of drone swarms expended, Commander Jackson reported. Railgun ammunition at 40%. "All surviving ships report damage, but none are unable to fight." Rivera nodded slowly. They had won the first battle. But he knew this was not the end. This was just the beginning. The Empire would not accept this defeat. They would come back with more ships, more anger, more determination. "Send a message to all human colonies," he ordered. "Tell them we won. Tell them we survived. And tell them to prepare. The Empire will return, and next time they will bring everything they have." He looked at Earth on the main screen. His homeworld. Still safe. Still free. For now. Emperor Vexthor threw the data tablet across the throne room. It shattered against the crystal wall, pieces scattering across the polished floor. His 3 eyes blazed with fury as he stared at the surviving members of Dalmon's fleet. 84 ships, he hissed. "You lost 84 ships to a primitive species that barely learned to travel between stars." The officers bowed low, their bodies trembling. No one dared to speak. "And you?" Vexthor turned to Dalmon, who stood apart from the others in disgrace. "You commanded this disaster. Give me one reason why I should not execute you right now." Dalmon kept his head bowed. "I have none, Excellency. I underestimated them. I believed they would be like every other species we have conquered." "I was wrong." "Wrong?" Vexthor's laugh was cold. "Wrong is miscalculating a star's position. Wrong as arriving late to a meeting. What you did was lead our fleet into a massacre. The Empire has not suffered such a defeat in 3,000 years. He paced back and forth, his robes sweeping the floor. The council members watched in silence. They all knew what was coming. The Emperor's rage had to be satisfied. Send word to Grand Admiral Keshvar, Vexthor finally said. Tell him to assemble the 5th Assault Fleet. 800 ships. I want these humans wiped from existence. Destroy their colonies. Burn their stations. Turn their homeworld into a graveyard. An older council member stepped forward cautiously. Excellency, 800 ships is nearly a quarter of our entire navy. What if the other species see this as weakness? What if they sense opportunity? Vexthor turned his burning gaze on the counselor. Then we will crush them too. But first, humanity must die. They have humiliated the Empire. That cannot stand. Grand Admiral Keshvar received his orders while inspecting the shipyards at the Empire's capital. He was an old warrior, scarred from 100 battles. Unlike many in the Empire's military, he had earned his rank through combat, not politics. He studied the battle recordings from the Sol system carefully. He watched them dozens of times, analyzing every movement, every tactic. What he saw disturbed him deeply. The humans fought like nothing he had seen before. They used weapons the Empire considered primitive, but they used them with devastating effectiveness. Their coordination was perfect. Their aggression was shocking, and most troubling of all, they showed no fear. They know they cannot win, he said to his second-in-command. They must know that the Empire can bring thousands of ships. Yet they fought as if victory was certain. Perhaps they are simply ignorant, Admiral. No, Keshvar said slowly. I have fought ignorant enemies. They panic when they realize they are outmatched. These humans did not panic. They had a plan, and they executed it perfectly. That means they believe they can win. The question is why. He assembled his fleet at the rally point, 3 systems away from human space. 800 ships, the largest offensive fleet the Empire had launched in centuries. Enough firepower to sterilize a dozen planets. But Keshvar was cautious. He sent scout ships ahead. He studied the approaches to human territory. And he watched for traps. Admiral Rivera knew they were coming before the scout ships even entered the outer system. Humanity's early warning network, spread across 50 light-years, detected the Empire's movements. 800 ships, Commander Jackson said, staring at the long-range sensor data. We are outnumbered 3-1 now. Even with our advantages, we cannot win a direct battle. Rivera agreed. The Battle of Luna had worked because they surprised the enemy, but surprise only worked once. Now the Empire knew what humanity could do. They would be prepared. Then we do not fight a direct battle, Rivera said. We fight the way the weak have always fought the strong. We make it too expensive for them to continue. He called a meeting of all fleet commanders. The holographic conference room filled with the faces of humanity's best military minds. Some were young in their 30s. Others were veterans like Rivera, gray-haired and scarred. Operation Hornet's Nest, Rivera said, displaying a tactical map. We split the fleet into 50 small strike groups. Each group has 6 to 8 ships. Fast, mobile, unpredictable. Hit-and-run tactics, one captain said. Exactly. The Empire's fleet is massive, but mass is also weakness. They need supply lines, fuel, ammunition, food for their crews. We attack those supplies. We hit their communication relays so they cannot coordinate. We ambush isolated squadrons. We never give them the pitched battle they want. They will call it cowardice, another captain said. Rivera's expression hardened. Let them. We are fighting for survival, not honor. If cowardice keeps Earth free, then I will be the biggest coward in the galaxy. The plan went into effect immediately. Humanity's fleet scattered like seeds in the wind, spreading across a dozen systems. Each strike group operated independently, choosing its own targets, its own timing. The war changed. Grand Admiral Keshvar entered the Proxima Centauri system with confidence. His fleet was overwhelming, but within hours, everything went wrong. A human strike group hit his supply convoy, destroying 3 transport ships before vanishing into the asteroid field. Another group attacked his communication relay station at the edge of the system. A third appeared near his main fleet, fired a barrage of missiles, then jumped to FTL before his ships could respond. Find them, Keshvar ordered.
Deploy all scout ships.
I want these raiders hunted down. But finding the human ships was like trying to catch smoke. They appeared, struck, and vanished. The Empire's massive fleet was too slow to respond. By the time Keshvar's forces reached an attack site, The humans were gone. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The hit-and-run attacks continued without pause. Caltharian crews, unused to prolonged warfare, began showing signs of stress. They slept poorly, jumped at shadows, questioned every sensor contact, and slowly, inevitably, they began making mistakes. A squadron of 20 Caltharian ships pursued a human strike group into an asteroid field. The humans had only 4 ships and appeared to be fleeing in panic. The Caltharian commander ordered full pursuit. It was a trap. Hidden in the asteroids were 50 more human ships and 10,000 drones. The Caltharian squadron was destroyed in minutes. Only one ship escaped to report what happened. Keshvar stared at the casualty reports. In 3 months of fighting, he had lost 200 ships. The humans had lost maybe 30. This was not war. This was being bled to death by 1,000 cuts. Admiral, his intelligence officer said hesitantly, "We have intercepted human communications. They are calling this kind of warfare guerrilla tactics. Apparently, they used it extensively in their pre-space era wars. Explain. When a weaker force cannot defeat a stronger one directly, they make the war too costly to continue. They attack supply lines, avoid major battles, and drag out the conflict until the stronger side gives up." Keshvar felt a chill run through him. "And did it work? In human history?" "Often, yes, sir." The Grand Admiral looked at his fleet dispositions. 800 ships had seemed overwhelming 3 months ago. Now he had only 600 operational vessels, and the humans showed no signs of stopping. He made a decision. One final attempt to force a decisive battle. He would lure them out with bait they could not resist. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "We are going to attack their colony at Proxima Centauri, the established one with 2 million civilians. They will have to defend it." The trap was set. Keshvar took 200 ships to Proxima Centauri and began orbital bombardment preparations. He made sure the humans could see what he was doing. "Come and stop me," he thought. "Come and fight." And they came. 30 human ships appeared in the system, accelerating hard toward his fleet. Keshvar smiled. Finally a real battle. He had them outnumbered nearly 7-1. All ships engaged the enemy. No mercy. But as the battle began, Keshvar realized something was wrong. The humans were not trying to flee. They were not positioning defensively. Instead, they were moving toward the system's star. "What are they doing?" his tactical officer wondered. Keshvar's eyes widened in horror as he understood. "They are using the star's radiation to power their weapons. All ships withdraw. Get away from the star. Too late." The humans had deployed massive solar collectors near the star during their months of guerrilla warfare. Now those collectors fed energy into directed energy weapons built in secret on the colony's surface. Beams of concentrated stellar energy lanced through space. The energy was enormous, powered by the star itself. Caltharian shields overloaded and failed. Ships melted under the assault. The 200 ships became 150, then 100. The humans lost 12 ships in the battle, but they saved their colony. Keshvar ordered the retreat. As his fleet jumped to FTL, he knew the truth. The Empire could not win this war. Not like this, not against an enemy that fought with such creativity, such determination, such absolute refusal to surrender. For the first time in his long military career, Grand Admiral Keshvar wondered if peace might be the only option. The emergency council meeting was called at midnight, Caltharian Standard Time. The great chamber filled with council members from across the Empire, many attending through holographic projection. Their faces showed worry, anger, and something the Empire had not felt in millennia: fear. Emperor Vexithor sat on his crystal throne, his 3 eyes scanning the assembled leaders. He looked older than before, the weight of defeat visible in the slump of his shoulders. 400 ships, he said, his voice hollow. "We have lost 400 ships to this pest of a species. How is this possible?" High Counselor Martek stood to speak. She was ancient, even by Caltharian standards, and had served 3 emperors. "The humans fight differently than any species we have encountered. They do not follow the conventional rules of warfare. They use tactics that are considered dishonorable by civilized standards." Dishonorable? Grand Admiral Keshvar's voice cut through the chamber. He had been summoned back to explain his failures. "War is not about honor. It is about survival, and the humans understand that better than we do." Vexthor's eyes narrowed. "You defend them?" "I state facts, Excellency." In 3 months of combat, I have learned more about the humans than our intelligence services discovered in years of observation. They are not primitive. They are not weak. They are dangerous. Another council member spoke up, his voice shaking with rage. Then we must send more ships. 5,000, 10,000. We must crush them before they grow stronger. And where will these ships come from? Keshvar asked calmly. We have 8,000 vessels in the entire Imperial Navy. Do you propose stripping defenses from all our systems? What happens when our vassal species see that weakness? The chamber fell silent. It was the question everyone had been avoiding. They already see it, Martek said quietly. Reports are coming in from across the Empire. 3 vassal species have stopped sending their tribute. 2 others have expelled our governors. There are riots on 6 worlds. The humans have shown them that the Empire can be defied. Vex Thor slammed his fist on the armrest of his throne. Then we make an example, not just of humanity, but of all who dare to rebel. Total war. No mercy. Show the galaxy what happens when you challenge the Empire. And if we lose? Keshvar asked. The question was simple, but it hung in the air like a blade. Lose? Vex Thor's laugh was bitter. We cannot lose. We are the Empire. We have ruled for 12,000 years. Every empire falls eventually, Excellency, usually because they refuse to adapt. Keshvar pulled up a tactical display showing the galactic map. Look at our position honestly. We have lost 400 ships. Our vassal species are restless. Our economy is strained from the war effort. And the humans show no signs of surrendering. So you suggest we surrender to them? I suggest we negotiate before our losses become catastrophic. The chamber erupted in shouting. Half the council demanded total war. The other half called for caution. Vex Thor watched the chaos with growing despair. His empire was fracturing before his eyes. On Earth, Ambassador Chen Wei sat in a secure communication room waiting. The encrypted channel had been established 3 days ago through back channels. The person she was about to speak with was someone she never expected. Overseer Dalmon. The hologram flickered to life. Dalmon appeared and Chen was shocked by his appearance. The proud military officer from their first contact was gone. This Dalmon looked haunted, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Ambassador Chen, he said quietly, thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I am surprised you reached out, Chen said. From what I understand, you are living in disgrace. Disgrace is a kind word for it. I lost the first battle. I am blamed for starting this war. But I deserve it. I underestimated your species completely. Chen studied him carefully. Why did you contact me? Dalmon leaned forward, his 3 eyes showing an emotion Chen had not seen in Caltharians before. Genuine concern. Because this war will destroy both our peoples if it continues. The Emperor is planning to send 5,000 ships to your system. Not to conquer. To exterminate. Chen felt ice in her stomach. 5,000? Yes. And even with your impressive defenses, I do not think you can survive such an assault. But here is what the Emperor does not understand. Even if he wins, he loses. The Empire is falling apart. 3 species have already declared independence. More will follow. Your resistance has shown them that the Empire is not invincible. So what do you propose? Peace, not surrender, but genuine peace. A treaty between equals. But I cannot make this happen alone. The Emperor will never agree unless he sees another path. Chen considered carefully. What do you need from us? Show the galaxy that you fight for freedom, not conquest. Send a message to all the vassal species. Tell them you will support their independence. Create a coalition. Make it clear that this is not humans versus the Empire, but freedom versus tyranny. That could work, Chen said slowly. But will your people listen? Dalmon's expression was grim. Some will. Not the Emperor, perhaps. But the Council is divided. Grand Admiral Keshvar already questions the wisdom of continuing this war. If you give the reasonable voices among us something to work with, perhaps we can avoid mutual destruction. After the call ended, Chen immediately contacted Admiral Rivera. Within hours, a message was prepared and broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages. To the people of the galaxy, the message began. Admiral Rivera's face appeared on screens across 100 worlds. I am Admiral Marcus Rivera of the Terran Defense Fleet. For 3 months, humanity has been at war with the Caltharian Empire. We did not want this war. We asked only to be left in peace. But when threatened with slavery, we chose to fight. He paused, letting the words sink in. We fight not for conquest, but for freedom, not for revenge, but for the right to determine our own future. And we know we are not alone. There are species throughout this galaxy who live under the Empire's rule against their will, who give their resources, their children, their futures to an empire that treats them as property. The message showed images from the battles, carefully edited to show human bravery and sacrifice. We cannot defeat the Empire alone, but we do not have to. If all who desire freedom stand together, the Empire cannot stop us. We offer our support, our friendship, and our alliance to any species that seeks independence. Together, we can build a galaxy where no one is forced to bow, where all species are free to chart their own destiny. The message ended with coordinates for secure communication channels and offers of military and economic support. The response was immediate. Within days, 3 more species declared independence, then 5 more, then 10. The galaxy was awakening and the Empire's hold was slipping. On the Imperial throne world, Vexthor received the reports with mounting horror. They are turning my own vassals against me. This is impossible. This is brilliant strategy, Keshvar said. He had been summoned to the throne room again. The humans understand something we forgot. An empire built on fear lasts only as long as the fear remains. Once that fear breaks, the whole structure collapses. Then we must restore the fear. Authorize the fleet. 5,000 ships. We launch immediately. Keshvar stood silent for a long moment. Then he did something no Caltharian officer had done in 3,000 years. He refused a direct order. No, Excellency. The throne room went silent. Vexthor stared at his Grand Admiral in disbelief. What did you say? I said no. I will not lead 5,000 ships to their destruction. I will not sacrifice a quarter of our navy for your pride. The war is lost, Excellency, not because humanity is stronger, but because they have shown the galaxy that we can be defied. If we continue, the Empire will tear itself apart. Vexthor rose from his throne, trembling with rage. You dare refuse me? I am the Emperor. My word is law. Your word was law, Keshvar said sadly. But empires are built on more than the words of one being. They are built on trust, respect, and mutual benefit. We forgot that, and now we pay the price. He turned and walked toward the door. Guards, Vexthor shouted. Arrest him. Arrest him for treason. The guards did not move. They stood at attention, but their weapons remained lowered, you see? Keshvar said quietly. Even your own guards question you now. The war must end, Excellency. The only question is whether it ends with negotiation or with the Empire's destruction. He left the throne room. Behind him, Emperor Vexthor sat alone on his crystal throne, surrounded by power he could no longer wield. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would come next. The massive Imperial fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system, 5,000 warships stretching across space like a metal ocean. It was the largest military force the galaxy had seen in recorded history. Emperor Vexthor, defying his council's warnings, had authorized the fleet personally. This would be the Empire's final answer to humanity's defiance. Grand Admiral Keshvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display. He had been forced to lead this fleet despite his objections. The alternative was execution for treason. But he felt no pride, only a deep sense of foreboding. All ships report ready, Admiral, his second officer said. Then we proceed, Keshvar said quietly. May history forgive us for what we are about to do. On Earth, Admiral Rivera stood in the Lunar Command Center, surrounded by his officers. The holographic display showed the approaching Imperial fleet in terrible detail. 5,000 ships. Humanity had 280 vessels operational after months of fighting. The mathematics were brutal. Sir, Commander Jackson said, her voice tight, we cannot win this battle. Even with all our advantages, we are outnumbered 20-1. Rivera nodded. I know, but we do not have to win. We just have to survive. And we have one more surprise for them. He opened a channel to all human ships and colonies. This is Admiral Rivera. For 3 months we have fought an empire that thought we were weak. We showed them they were wrong. Today they come with overwhelming force because they have learned to fear us. That fear is our greatest weapon. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Today we show them why you never threaten humanity's home. Protocol deterrent is now active. Across the Sol system something stirred. For 50 years, while humanity explored space and built colonies, they had been preparing for this moment. Secret bases hidden in asteroids, Automated weapons platforms disguised as mining equipment. Dormant systems waiting for activation. Now they woke up. The Empire's fleet entered the outer solar system cautiously. HFY had learned from his mistakes. Scout ships spread out in a wide net. Sensors swept constantly for hidden threats. The main fleet advanced in tight formation, shields at maximum. Anything on sensors? HFY asked. Negative, Admiral. We detect the human fleet near Earth. 280 ships in defensive formation. No hidden forces detected. HFY did not trust it. The humans always had surprises. Proceed carefully. Watch for alarms screamed across every ship simultaneously. Multiple contacts. Thousands of contacts. They are everywhere. The tactical display exploded with red markers. 10,000 autonomous drones activated throughout the solar system. But these were not the simple kinetic missiles from the first battle. These were far more sophisticated. Each drone was equipped with nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers. When their nuclear cores detonated, they directed beams of intense radiation at enemy ships, and there were 10,000 of them. The first wave of drones attacked from every direction. 2,000 nuclear detonations lit up space like newborn stars. The X-ray beams punched through shields and armor, burning into reactors and weapon systems. HFY watched in horror as 50 ships vanished from his display in the first 5 seconds. Then 100. Then 200. Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter. Get away from the blast zones. But the drones were everywhere. As the fleet tried to disperse, they ran into more automated weapons platforms. Railgun batteries hidden in asteroids opened fire. Missile silos built into the surface of dead moons launched their payloads. The entire solar system had been turned into a fortress. They weaponized their entire star system. HFY's tactical officer said in awe. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris. It is all part of their defense network. The human fleet chose that moment to attack. 280 ships accelerated from Earth orbit, their railguns blazing. But they were not alone. Admiral, we have new contacts entering the system. Unknown configurations. HFY's heart sank as he saw the new arrivals. 47 ships, none of them human. He recognized the designs. 3 of the Empire's former vassal species. They had come to fight alongside humanity. The Velocians, the Mareth, and the Quinn, his intelligence officer reported. All species that declared independence last month. They have joined the battle. The coalition of free species struck at the Empire's flanks. The Velocians brought powerful energy shields that protected the smaller human vessels. The Mareth had advanced sensor jamming that confused Imperial targeting. The Quinn contributed fighter craft that harassed larger ships. Together, the Allied forces fought with desperate coordination. And all around them, the automated defenses continued their merciless assault. HFY made calculations rapidly. He had lost 2,000 ships in the opening hour. The automated defenses were destroying his fleet faster than his weapons could destroy them. And the human tactics combined with their alien allies were devastating his formations. We cannot win this, he said aloud. His second officer stared at him. Admiral, look at the numbers. We have lost 2,000 ships and barely scratched their defenses. If we continue, we lose the entire fleet. And for what? To destroy one planet? That will not save the Empire. It will only prove that we are monsters. He thought about the thousands of young Caltharian officers and crew under his command. Thought about their families. Thought about the species they were supposedly protecting through the Empire's rule. Open a channel to the human fleet, HFY said. I wish to speak with Admiral Rivera. The channel connected. Admiral Rivera appeared on the screen, his uniform scorched, a cut across his forehead. Behind him, his command center showed signs of damage. The humans were not winning easily, but they were winning. Grand Admiral, Rivera said, have you come to offer surrender? Yes, HFY said simply. The word felt strange in his mouth. The Empire did not surrender. Except now it did. I surrender my fleet and myself. Under one condition. Name it. Guarantee the safety of my crews. They followed orders. They are not responsible for the Empire's decisions. Rivera was quiet for a moment. Agreed. All Caltharian personnel will be treated as prisoners of war under human protection. No reprisals? Then I accept your terms. HFY turned to his communications officer. Send to all ships, cease fire. Power down weapons. Prepare to surrender. The battle ended. The largest fleet in Imperial history had been defeated. Not by superior numbers or technology, but by determination, creativity, and the absolute refusal to accept subjugation. On the Imperial throne world, Emperor Vexithor received the news in stunned silence. 5,000 ships sent. 3,000 ships destroyed or captured. The Grand Admiral surrendered. The council convened within hours. This time there was no debate. Emperor Vexithor, High Counselor Martek said formally, "The council has voted. You are removed from power. Effective immediately. The Empire requires new leadership. Leadership that understands the galaxy has changed." Vexithor did not resist. He stood from his crystal throne and walked away, a broken being. 12,000 years of imperial tradition ended with quiet resignation. 6 months later, the Galactic Accord was signed on neutral ground. Ambassador Chen Wei represented humanity. Grand Admiral Keshvar, pardoned by the new Caltharian government, represented the Empire. 23 other species signed as well, all former imperial vassals. The agreement was simple. No species would rule over another. All would have the right to self-determination. A council would mediate disputes, with each species having equal voice regardless of size or military power. Admiral Rivera attended the ceremony in full uniform. He stood beside Overseer Dalmon, who had been instrumental in the peace negotiations. The two warriors who had once faced each other in battle now worked together for a new future. "Do you think it will last?" Dalmon asked quietly. "Peace, I mean." Rivera considered the question. "I think we have learned something important. All of us. The strong are not invincible and the weak are not helpless. Power comes from many sources. Technology, strategy, determination, unity. The Empire forgot that. They believed in dominance alone. And humanity showed us a different path. We showed you what desperation can achieve. But now we must show something else. That free species working together can build something better than any empire." The ceremony concluded with representatives from each species planting native plants from their homeworlds in a garden of unity. It was symbolic, perhaps overly so, but symbols mattered. They gave people something to believe in. As the delegates departed, Chen Wei found Rivera standing alone, looking at Earth through the station's observation window. "Thinking about what we lost?" she asked. 5,000 sailors, 20 colonies damaged, 50 years of resources spent on weapons we hoped never to use. Rivera shook his head. "Yes, we won, but the cost was terrible. It would have been worse if we surrendered. I know. That is what makes it bearable. We chose freedom knowing the price, and we paid it." He turned to face her. "But now we have a different responsibility. We inspired others to seek freedom. We must help them keep it." Chen Wei smiled. "The Free Species Coalition. I like the sound of that. It is not perfect. There will be challenges, conflicts, difficult decisions, but it is better than the alternative." The ancient hall of the Galactic Coalition was quiet. Too quiet. The massive chamber could hold thousands of beings from across the stars, but today only a few hundred attended. Most of the younger species had stopped coming to these old meetings. They thought the ancient ones were boring. They thought the elders talked too much about the past. Elder Krathos stood at the center platform. His species was one of the oldest in the known galaxy. The Voskor had seen empires rise and fall like waves on a shore. They had watched countless civilizations bloom and fade. They knew things that others had forgotten. Today, the elder had important news. His long fingers moved across the holographic controls. Images appeared in the air above the platform. A small blue and green planet floated in the darkness of space. "We have found a new species," the elder said. His voice was calm but serious. "They call their world Earth. They call themselves humans." A few delegates looked up with mild interest. New species were discovered all the time. What made these humans special? The elder continued. He showed more images, cities, machines, battles. The images showed humans fighting, always fighting. They fought with swords. They fought with guns. They fought with massive bombs that could destroy entire cities. And they were fighting each other. "These beings are dangerous," the elder warned. "Not because they are strong. Not because they are smart, but because they never stop." Ambassador Gentar from the hegemony laughed. It was a harsh, clicking sound. The Gentar were warriors. Their empire controlled 10,000 worlds. They had crushed 100 species who dared to resist them. "Elder, with respect, I see nothing to fear," Gentar said. "These humans fight with primitive weapons. They have not even left their moon. They waste their energy fighting among themselves. They are weak," other delegates nodded. They agreed with Gentar. Some even smiled at the old elder. They thought he was being foolish. Scared of nothing, the elder showed more images. He showed human history, ice ages that should have killed them but humans survived, diseases that should have wiped them out but humans endured, disasters, famines, wars. Through everything, humans kept going. Look closely, the elder said. These humans evolved on what they call a death world. Their planet has predators that can kill them easily. Their weather can freeze them or burn them. Their ground shakes and destroys their cities. Yet they survive. More than survive. They thrive. He showed footage of human soldiers in their wars. Humans fighting when they were outnumbered. Fighting when they were injured. Fighting when any other species would have surrendered, and sometimes incredibly winning. They are persistence hunters, the elder explained. Do you know what this means? On Earth, there are animals faster than humans, stronger than humans, but humans hunted them by never giving up. They chased their prey for days, until the prey died from exhaustion. This is what humans are. They are the species that never stops chasing. Gentar stood up. His armored body gleamed under the lights. Elder Krathos, you speak of primitive hunters. We are a galactic empire. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have ships that cross the galaxy in days. What can these humans do against us? Nothing. They are not even worth our attention. The other delegates agreed. They were bored now. They wanted to discuss trade routes and mining rights, not listen to warnings about some primitive species on the edge of explored space. The elder looked around the chamber. He saw the dismissal in their eyes. He had lived for 600 cycles. He had seen this before. Species who thought they were invincible. Species who ignored warnings. Most of them were now just dust in the stellar wind. Very well, the elder said quietly. I have given my warning. I have shown you what I have seen. The Voskor will have no part in what comes next. We will withdraw to our home systems. We will close our borders. This caused some surprise. The Voskor had been part of the coalition for thousands of years. They had never withdrawn before. Why do you hide, old one? Gentar asked mockingly. Are you afraid of the hairless apes? The elder looked at Gentar with ancient eyes. I am not afraid of the humans themselves. I am afraid of what will happen when someone decides to test them. When someone decides these humans need to be conquered, or enslaved, or destroyed. He paused, and his next words were heavy with meaning. Because humans have a saying. They say, do not mistake kindness for weakness. And another one. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. These humans will not do nothing. Not when threatened. Not when attacked. They will respond. And they will not stop responding until they win, or until they are extinct. There is no middle ground with them. The elder gathered his data and prepared to leave. At the entrance to the chamber, he turned back one last time. When the humans come to the stars, remember this day. Remember that you were warned. The humans are not invincible, but they are unstoppable. Learn the difference. It may save your species. The elder left. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then Gentar laughed again. The old one has gone soft. Afraid of primitives. How far the mighty have fallen. The other delegates joined in the laughter. They returned to their discussions of trade and territory. The warning was forgotten. The images of Earth were deleted from the official records. After all, why keep data about an insignificant species that posed no threat? 50 years passed. The galaxy turned. Empires grew. Wars were fought and won. And on a small blue planet on the edge of explored space, humans looked up at the stars and dreamed of going there. They built ships. They developed new engines. They trained crews. And eventually they left their home. They went seeking new worlds, new knowledge, new friends among the stars. They went in peace. But they were ready for anything, because humans always were. The exploration vessel Endeavour moved slowly through deep space. It was not a military ship. It carried scientists, engineers, and families. 2,000 souls traveled together toward a distant star system, where they hoped to build a new colony. 50 years had passed since the Elder's warning. Humanity had finally developed faster than light travel. It was not as fast as other species' technology, but it worked. The Endeavour used a combination of generation ship design and cryosleep. Most people slept while the ship traveled. A small crew stayed awake in shifts to maintain the systems. Captain Maria Santos was on the bridge when the alarm started. She was a veteran of Earth's space program. Calm under pressure. Smart and careful. She had spent 20 years preparing for this mission. Multiple contacts, the sensor officer reported. Unknown vessels. Moving to intercept. Santos felt her heart rate increase. This was first contact, the moment humanity had been dreaming about for centuries. Meeting another intelligent species. She ordered all stations to ready for communication protocols. Send friendship signals, she ordered. All frequencies. Let them know we come in peace. The unknown vessels came closer. 6 ships. They were sleek and deadly looking. Built for war, not exploration. They moved with purpose. They surrounded the Endeavor like predators circling prey. A message came through. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. It was from the Gentar hegemony. Santos did not know this name. Humans had no knowledge of the Gentar or their empire. They did not know about the Elder's warning or the Galactic coalition. They were alone and facing an unknown threat. The message was simple. Submit. Surrender your vessel. You are now property of the hegemony. Santos looked at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes. But she also saw determination. These were humans. They had left Earth seeking new horizons. They had traveled for years through the darkness of space. They had not come all this way to become slaves. Send response, Santos said. Tell them we are peaceful explorers. Tell them we wish to speak, not fight. But tell them we will not surrender. The Gentar response came quickly. It was a weapons blast. A warning shot that passed close to the Endeavor's hull. The message was clear. Submit or be destroyed. Santos made a decision. The Endeavor was not a warship. They had some defensive weapons, but nothing that could fight 6 military vessels. She could surrender and hope for mercy, or she could fight and die. Or she could try something else. All crew to escape pods, she ordered. Prepare evacuation protocols. Engineering, I need everything you can give me. Her crew moved fast. They had trained for emergencies. Parents grabbed children. Engineers secured critical data. Scientists saved their research. In 12 minutes, 600 people were loaded into escape pods. The pods were small, cramped. They had limited supplies, but they had one advantage. They were hard to detect. Santos stayed on the bridge with her senior officers. 400 crew members remained. They volunteered. They knew what was coming. Launch pods, Santos commanded. Silent running. Maximum dispersal. Some of you will make it home. Some of you will survive. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them what we found among the stars. The escape pods launched in all directions, hundreds of tiny craft spreading out into space. The Gentar ships did not notice. They were focused on the Endeavor. Santos sent one final message to the Gentar. It was broadcast on all frequencies, recorded in every language humans knew. She wanted to make sure someone heard it. Someone understood it. I am Captain Maria Santos of the human exploration vessel Endeavor. You have attacked us without cause. You have demanded our surrender without offering any chance to talk. You have shown us what you are. Now let me show you what we are. She paused. We are not warriors. We came in peace. We came seeking friends and knowledge. But we are humans. And humans do not bow to bullies. We do not surrender to threats. We do not give up ever. Santos looked at her officers. They nodded. They understood. They were ready. Tell your empire this, Santos continued in her message. Tell them you met humans today. Tell them we fought. Tell them we lost. But also tell them this. Tell them we are coming. Tell them we do not stop. Tell them that every human who heard about this day will remember. And they will come looking for you. Not for revenge. Not for glory. But because you made it personal. Because you attacked peaceful explorers who just wanted to see the stars. Because you gave us no choice, she smiled grimly. Tell them we are coming. Tell them they should have listened to the Elder. The Gentar commander listened to the message. He did not understand most of it. What Elder? What was this human talking about? It did not matter. These primitives needed to learn their place. Disable their ship, the commander ordered. Prepare boarding parties. We will take survivors as slaves. This vessel will make a fine trophy. But Santos had one more surprise. The Endeavor had fusion reactors, powerful engines that could push the ship through space. Santos had ordered the engineering team to disable all safety systems, to overload the reactors, to turn their ship into a bomb. For Earth, she whispered. For humanity. For every person who dares to dream of the stars. She pressed the button. The Endeavor exploded. The blast was massive. It caught 2 Gentar ships that were moving in to board. One was destroyed instantly. The other was crippled, spinning away into space. The explosion also created a debris field and electromagnetic pulse that blinded the other Gentar ships for precious minutes. In those minutes, the escape pods got farther away. farther into the darkness, where the Gentar could not find them. When the Gentar commander recovered, he was furious. These humans had destroyed themselves rather than surrender. They had taken 2 of his ships with them. They had embarrassed him, made him look foolish. He searched for survivors. He found none. The escape pods were too small and too far away. He did not have time to search the entire sector. He had orders. He had a schedule. And surely a few primitives in tiny pods would die anyway. Space was deadly. They would not survive. Minor species eliminated, he reported to Hegemony Command. They resisted. We destroyed them. No threat detected. Recommend avoiding the sector. Nothing of value here. The Hegemony filed the report and forgot about it. Just another primitive species that thought they could resist. Just another lesson taught. Nothing important. But in the darkness of space, 600 humans survived in their escape pods. They shared supplies. They shared air. They shared hope. And they had something else. They had recordings. They had sensor data. They had knowledge of the Gentar ships, their weapons, their tactics, their language. And most importantly, they had Captain Santos's final message. They had her promise. They had her words. Humans were coming. Humans would not stop. The Gentar just did not know it yet. 5 years after the Endeavor was destroyed, the escape pods returned to human space. Not all of them. Many were lost in the journey. Space was vast and deadly, but 182 people survived. They had traveled for years in cramped pods, sharing supplies, taking turns in cryosleep, helping each other survive. They made it home. The news hit Earth like a shockwave. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and their first contact had been an attack, an unprovoked act of war. Captain Santos and 1,400 crew members were dead, murdered by an alien empire that demanded submission without even talking first. The survivors brought back everything they had recorded, sensor data on the Gentar ships, translations of their language, examples of their technology, and most importantly, they brought back Captain Santos's final message. Her words spread across Earth, across every human colony, across every space station. Millions heard her promise. Billions more would soon hear it. The United Earth government called an emergency session. Delegates from every nation gathered. They had not agreed on much in recent years. Climate policy, trade disputes, colonial rights. But this was different. This was an attack on humanity itself. This united them. General James Chen stood before the assembly. He was old now. He had fought in Earth's last major war 30 years ago. He had hoped never to see war again. But here he was. We have 2 choices, Chen said simply. We can hide. Pull back to Earth, stop exploring. Hope these Gentar never find us. Or we can prepare. A diplomat stood up. Prepare for what, war? Against an empire that spans 10,000 worlds? We have 47 colonies. We barely have a functioning space navy. They destroyed the Endeavor without even trying. How can we fight them? Chen nodded. You are right. We cannot fight them. Not today. Not in a direct battle. But we can do what humans have always done. We can adapt. We can learn. We can prepare, and we can make sure that if they come for us again, we make them regret it. Another delegate spoke. What about diplomacy? Maybe we can talk to them, explain it was a misunderstanding. Make peace. Chen showed the recordings from the Endeavor, the Gentar attack, their demands for submission, their refusal to even communicate. They did not want to talk. They wanted slaves, and when Captain Santos refused, they tried to destroy her ship and take the survivors. That is not a misunderstanding. That is who they are. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would prepare for war. They would study the Gentar technology. They would build defenses. They would train soldiers. And they would make sure that if the Gentar came again, humanity would be ready. What followed was the greatest mobilization in human history. Scientists worked day and night studying the Gentar sensor data. Engineers reverse-engineered alien technology from the debris the Endeavor had scattered when it exploded. Military leaders developed new tactics, new strategies, ways to fight an enemy with superior technology. But the military was not the only group preparing. Civilians volunteered. Colonists built defenses. Miners increased production. Factories that made civilian goods converted to military production. Everyone contributed. Everyone understood. This was not about conquest. This was about survival. 3 years into the preparation, the Gentar came again. They had decided to expand their territory. They had found a human colony world called New Hebrides. 4 million colonists, farmers, miners, families. The colony had some defensive weapons, but nothing major. It was a soft target, easy pickings. The Gentar fleet arrived expecting no resistance. They were wrong. The colonists had been training. They had been preparing. They had weapons that Earth had sent them. Not enough to win, but enough to fight. The battle for New Hebrides lasted 3 days. The colonists fought from the ground. They used guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks. They destroyed supply depots. They ambushed patrols. They made the Gentar pay for every meter of ground. When the human defense fleet arrived, the Gentar were surprised. These humans had real warships now. Not many, not as advanced. But they fought with a desperation and creativity that shocked the aliens. Human ships used unconventional tactics. They rammed enemy vessels. They detonated their own ships as weapons. They used the debris field as cover. They fought in ways the Gentar had never seen. Ways that broke all conventional military doctrine. In the end, humanity lost the battle. The Gentar took New Hebrides. They controlled the planet. They had won, but it had cost them. They lost 20 ships, 3,000 soldiers, and they only held the major cities. The countryside was still controlled by human resistance fighters who refused to surrender. The Gentar commander sent a report to the hegemony. We have secured the human colony world, but these humans are different from other species. They do not surrender even when clearly defeated. They continue fighting. We have captured several, but they refuse to work. They sabotage equipment. They attack guards. I recommend additional forces. Back on Earth, the loss of New Hebrides was mourning, but there was also resolve. The colonists had held out for 3 days. They had made the Gentar bleed. They had shown that humans could fight back. More importantly, they had bought time. Time for the rest of humanity to prepare. Time to build more ships. Time to train more soldiers. Time to develop better weapons. Admiral Sarah Chen, daughter of the late Captain Santos, addressed the human fleet. She had joined the military after her mother's death. She had risen through the ranks through skill and determination. Now she commanded humanity's growing space navy. The Gentar think they won, she said to her officers. They hold New Hebrides. They think that means victory. But they are learning what my mother tried to teach them. You do not beat humans by winning battles. You beat humans by making them give up. And we will never give up. She played a recording. It was transmitted from New Hebrides. From the resistance fighters still fighting in the countryside, their leader spoke in a calm, determined voice. To all humans listening, this is New Hebrides. We are still here. We are still fighting. They took our cities, but not our will. They killed our friends, but not our hope. We will resist every day, every hour, every minute, until relief comes or until we fall, but we will never surrender. Never. The message ended with words that would become humanity's battle cry, words that would be repeated in every battle, every fight, every struggle to come. You wanted war. We invented it. You wanted to test us. Now you will learn what humans are really like. We are the species that walked out of Africa with nothing but sharp sticks. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues. We are the species that split the atom and went to the moon. We are humanity, and we are coming. 3 years into the war, the Gentar hegemony controlled 15 human colony worlds. On paper, they were winning. Their empire was larger. Their technology was better. Their military was stronger. But they were not happy. They were, in fact, starting to worry. The problem was simple. The Gentar could win every battle. They could take every planet, but they could not hold them. Not really. Every world they conquered became a nightmare of resistance and sabotage. On New Hebrides, the resistance was still fighting 3 years after the initial invasion. They lived in the mountains and forests. They attacked supply convoys. They destroyed communications equipment. They made the Gentar occupation expensive and bloody. The Gentar had to keep 10,000 troops on the planet just to maintain basic control. Troops they needed elsewhere, and it was not just New Hebrides. Every occupied human world was the same. Humans did not accept defeat. They did not cooperate. They did not work peacefully under Gentar rule. They resisted, always. Commander Gentar sat in his office reviewing reports. He was responsible for the occupation of 4 human worlds. Every day brought new problems. Factory workers who worked slowly, equipment that mysteriously broke, guards who disappeared, food supplies that spoiled. It never ended. He had captured hundreds of humans, tried to interrogate them, learn their plans. But they would not talk. They would not cooperate. Some pretended not to understand. Others stayed silent. A few gave false information that led his troops into traps. Genkar called his intelligence officer. "Explain this to me. We have defeated these humans in every major battle. We control their planets. Why do they continue fighting?" The officer pulled up human cultural data they had collected. "Sir, I have been studying them. Humans have a different mindset than other species we have conquered. They do not fight to win. They fight to not lose. There is a difference." "What difference?" Genkar demanded. "Most species fight until they calculate victory is impossible. Then they surrender. It is logical. It saves lives. But humans do not think this way. They fight until they physically cannot fight anymore, and even then they look for ways to resist. They value stubbornness over logic. They value determination over survival." Genkar did not like this answer. "So how do we make them stop?" The intelligence officer shook his head. "I do not know, sir. In their history, they have fought wars that lasted decades, even centuries. They have resisted occupations for generations. There are examples of small human groups fighting empires much larger than themselves. And often the empires gave up first. Meanwhile, humanity was adapting. That was what humans did best. They learned from every battle. Every defeat taught them something new. They studied Gentar tactics. They analyzed captured technology. They improved their weapons and strategies. Human ships were getting better. Not as advanced as Gentar vessels, but close. And humans used them differently. They took risks. They tried things that no military academy would teach. Sometimes these tactics failed. But when they worked spectacularly. Captain Marcus Webb led a raid deep into Gentar territory. His mission was impossible. Rescue human prisoners from a heavily guarded facility. Every military analyst said it could not be done. The facility was too well protected. The odds were too bad. Webb did it anyway. He used a captured Gentar ship, flew right up to the facility pretending to be a supply vessel. When challenged, he broadcast stolen security codes. It worked. He landed. His team moved fast. They freed 200 prisoners. Then they stole 6 more Gentar ships and escaped before the guards realized what happened. The rescue made headlines across human space. More importantly, it made the Gentar nervous. If humans could penetrate their secure facilities, nowhere was safe. They had to increase security everywhere. More guards, more checks. More resources diverted from the front lines. Admiral Chen launched another operation. Not a military attack. Something else. Something the Gentar did not expect. She broadcast messages directly to the Gentar population. Not threats. Not propaganda. Just information. She told them the truth about the war. How it started with an unprovoked attack on peaceful explorers. How humans had tried to communicate but were met with violence. How humanity was only defending itself. She included footage from the Endeavor. Captain Santos's final message. The battle for New Hebrides. The Gentar government tried to block these transmissions, but humans were persistent. They found new frequencies, new methods. The messages kept getting through. And some Gentar civilians started asking questions. Why were they fighting these humans? What had humans done to deserve this war? The Gentar High Command met to discuss the situation. Their military leader, High Commander Genthor, was frustrated. These humans should have broken by now. We have destroyed their fleets. We occupy their worlds. Why do they not surrender? One of his advisors spoke carefully. "Sir, I've been reviewing old records." There was a warning. From the Voskor Elder, 50 years ago, before we encountered the humans. "What warning?" Genthor demanded. The Elder said humans were dangerous, not because of their technology or military power, but because they never stop. He called them persistence hunters. He said they would chase prey for days until it died from exhaustion. He said attacking them would be a mistake. Genthor was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed. But it was not a happy laugh. The old fool was right. We are the prey being hunted. These humans are not trying to win battles. They are trying to exhaust us, make us spend resources, make us worry, make us question if this war is worth the cost. Another advisor spoke. "Sir, we have another problem. Our client species. the ones who provide us with resources and soldiers. Some are starting to rebel. They say if humans can resist us, maybe they can too. This was serious. The Gentar Empire was built on conquered species who served them. If these species rebelled, the empire would collapse. Back in human space, Admiral Chen prepared for her next move. She had been planning this for months. A major offensive, not to conquer Gentar territory, not to destroy their forces, but to send a message. She gathered her fleet. 100 ships, everything humanity could spare. They jumped deep into Gentar space, straight toward a major shipyard, a facility that built 30% of the Gentar navy. The Gentar scrambled to defend it. They sent every ship they could. The battle was fierce. Humans lost 70 ships, but they accomplished their mission. The shipyard was destroyed. Years of construction were lost. Hundreds of half-built ships were destroyed. As the surviving human ships retreated, Admiral Chen broadcast one final message to the Gentar. It was short, simple, and terrifying in its implications. Every ship we lose teaches us something. Every battle we fight makes us stronger. Every day you continue this war, we adapt more. We learn more. We become more dangerous. The question you need to ask yourself is this: can you afford to keep fighting us? Can your empire survive a war against an enemy that never stops learning? An enemy that treats every loss as a lesson and every defeat as motivation? We are 7 years into this war. We can fight for 70 more. Can you? Year 10 of the war. The galaxy was watching now. The conflict between humans and the Gentar hegemony had become impossible to ignore. What started as a minor border dispute was now a full-scale war that threatened to destabilize an entire sector. The impossible had happened. Human forces were no longer just defending. They were attacking. Raids deep into Gentar space, hit-and-run strikes on supply lines, commando operations to free prisoners and steal technology. The Gentar were being pushed back, slowly, painfully, but undeniably. Human technology had caught up. Years of studying captured Gentar equipment had paid off. Human ships were now equal in most ways, better in some. Human engineers had done something the Gentar never expected. They had improved on alien technology. They had looked at Gentar designs and asked, what if we did it differently? This was the human advantage. The Gentar military had not changed tactics in 1,000 years. Why would they? Their methods worked. They had conquered 100 species. But humans changed constantly. They experimented. They tried new things. They were not afraid to fail because failure taught them what not to do next time. Commander Genvar led the defense of a critical Gentar colony. He had studied human tactics. He thought he understood them. He was prepared for their tricks, their unconventional strategies, their willingness to sacrifice. But when the human fleet arrived, they did something he did not expect. They did not attack. They just sat there, waiting, broadcasting a message. The message was from Admiral Chen, but it was not addressed to Genvar. It was addressed to the civilian population on the planet below. People of this world, we are humans. We are not here to conquer you. We are not here to harm you. We are here because your government attacked us first. Your military demanded we surrender or die. We refused. That choice started this war, she continued. We know many of you did not choose this war. We know you are ordinary people trying to live your lives. We do not want to fight you, but we will not stop fighting until your government agrees to peace. Real peace. Not surrender. Not subjugation. Peace between equals. Tell your leaders. Tell them to stop this war before more people die on both sides. Genvar tried to jam the transmission, but humans had learned to broadcast on frequencies the Gentar could not easily block. The message got through, and it had an effect. Civilians on the planet started protesting. They did not want to be a battleground. They did not want their homes destroyed in a war that seemed pointless. This was happening across Gentar space. Humans were not just fighting a military war. They were fighting an information war. A psychological war. They were making the Gentar population question why they were fighting. Making them ask what the goal was. Making them wonder if it was worth the cost. In the hegemony capital, the high command was fracturing. The military hardliners wanted to escalate, commit more resources, crush the humans once and for all. But the pragmatists were looking at the numbers. The war was costing too much. Too many ships. Too many soldiers. Too much political stability. More concerning, 3 client species had openly rebelled. They had declared independence from the hegemony. When Gentar forces moved to suppress them, human forces provided support. Weapons, intelligence, training. The humans were not just defending themselves anymore. They were helping others resist Gentar rule. High Commander Genthor faced a choice. He could continue the war and risk his empire falling apart. Or he could seek peace and admit the hegemony had made a mistake. Neither option was good, but one was clearly worse. He contacted one of his advisors, the one who had found the Elder's warning. Find me everything about the Voskor. Everything about their elder who warned us. I need to understand what he knew that we did not. The research took weeks, but it painted a clear picture. The Voskor were ancient. They had survived because they were careful, because they watched and learned, because they knew when to fight and when to withdraw, and they had seen something in humans that the Gentar missed. Not strength, not intelligence, but an unbreakable will. Genthor made a decision. He would reach out to the humans, not to surrender, but to talk, to see if peace was possible. He did this quietly, secretly. The hardliners could not know. Not yet. He sent a message through neutral channels. A simple question. Would humans be willing to negotiate? The response came from Admiral Chen. Yes, but with conditions. Negotiations must be public. Both sides must agree to a ceasefire during talks, and any agreement must be verified by neutral parties. Genthor agreed. He announced peace negotiations to his government. The hardliners were furious. How dare he negotiate with these primitives? The hegemony did not negotiate. They conquered, but Genthor had support from the pragmatists, and from war-weary civilians, and from military officers who were tired of fighting an enemy that never stayed beaten. The negotiations moved forward. Then the hardliners made their move. They sent a strike force to attack the human peace delegation. If they killed the human leaders, the war would continue, and the hegemony would eventually win through sheer size and resources. But humans had prepared for this. They had learned to expect betrayal. The peace delegation was protected by stealth ships, by hidden defenses, by soldiers who had been fighting this war for 10 years and knew every Gentar trick. The attack failed. The hardliner fleet was destroyed, and humanity's response was swift and devastating. Not against the Gentar population, not against civilians, but against military targets, strategic installations, command centers, shipyards. In 72 hours, humanity launched coordinated strikes across 20 Gentar military facilities. The message was clear. We can reach you anywhere. We can hurt you anytime. We choose not to because we want peace. But if you force us to continue this war, we will win it. The most shocking strike was on the Gentar homeworld itself. Human ships appeared in orbit. They did not attack. They just sat there, visible, undeniable, a fleet capable of devastating the homeworld, but holding fire. Admiral Chen broadcast from her flagship. People of the hegemony, we are here. We have the power to destroy your world. Your military attacked our peace delegation. They tried to kill innocent people who came only to talk. This is who your hardliners are. This is what they value. War over peace. Pride over survival. She paused. But we are not them. We did not come here to destroy. We came to make a point. You cannot defeat us through force. You cannot intimidate us. You cannot break us. The only way this war ends is through peace. Real peace. Mutual respect. Or we will fight you for another 10 years. Another 20. Another 50. However long it takes. The choice is yours. The Gentar population watched their skies. Watched human warships holding position above their cities. Ships that could kill millions but chose not to. And they understood. These humans were not monsters. They were not conquerors. They were just people who refused to be conquered. Who fought back when attacked, who wanted the same thing the Gentar civilians wanted. Peace, safety, a chance to live without fear. Across the hegemony, civilians demanded their government end the war. The hardliners were arrested by their own military. Commander Genthor, the pragmatist who had sought peace, became the new leader. He sent a message to Admiral Chen. 3 simple words in the human language he had learned during his study of them. We seek peace. The Treaty of Terra was signed 1 year after the human fleet appeared over the Gentar homeworld. The negotiations were difficult. Both sides had lost so much. Millions dead, countless resources wasted. Deep wounds that would take generations to heal. But the treaty was fair. That was what surprised the galaxy most. Humans did not demand punishment. They did not ask for territory or treasure. They asked for three things. First, all occupied human worlds must be returned. Second, the Gentar must recognize human sovereignty and independence. Third, both sides must agree to peaceful contact and trade going forward. The Gentar expected harsher terms. They had started the war. They had attacked first. They had killed peaceful explorers. By all rights, humans could have demanded much more. But Admiral Chen explained it simply. We did not fight for conquest. We fought for the right to exist. Now that you recognize that right, we have everything we wanted. The signing ceremony was held on Earth. It was the first time Gentar officials had visited the human homeworld. They were surprised by what they saw. Earth was beautiful, but also clearly dangerous. Active volcanoes, earthquake zones, extreme weather patterns. The humans had not been lying. They really did evolve on a death world. Commander Genthor met with Admiral Chen privately after the ceremony. I have a question, he said. You could have destroyed our homeworld. You had the power. Why did you not? Chen looked at him with tired eyes. She had been fighting this war for 10 years. She had lost friends, family, comrades. Because that would have made us like you, like the you that attacked the Endeavor. We fight when we must. We are very good at it. But we do not enjoy it. We do not seek it. Every human who died in this war is someone who will never go home, never see their family again, never achieve their dreams. We remember that. Every single one. Genthor was quiet for a moment. The Elder was right. The Voskor Elder who warned us. He said humans were dangerous not because of your weapons, but because of your will, because you never stop. I thought he was a fool. Now I understand. You are not warriors by nature. You are survivors. That makes you more dangerous than any warrior race. Chen nodded. We are good at surviving. We have had a lot of practice. Now perhaps we can practice something else, living in peace. The Galactic Coalition took notice of humanity. They invited human representatives to join. It was an unusual offer. Normally species had to apply and wait decades for consideration. But the Coalition had watched the war. They had seen what humans could do. They wanted humanity inside the Coalition, not outside it. The human delegation was led by Ambassador James Harrison. He was the grandson of the colonel who had been captured and interrogated by the Gentar years earlier. His grandfather had taught him everything about dealing with alien species. Respect them, understand them, but never let them think you are weak. The Coalition chamber was the same one where Elder Krethos had given his warning 60 years ago. Most of the same species were still represented, but the mood was different. Everyone wanted to meet the humans. Everyone wanted to understand how a species with barely 50 worlds had fought the hegemony to a standstill. Elder Krethos was there. He was very old now, nearly 700 cycles, but he had insisted on attending. He wanted to see this moment. The moment humans joined the galactic community, Ambassador Harrison stood before the assembly. He spoke clearly and confidently. We are honored by your invitation. Humanity has dreamed of this day since we first looked up at the stars. The day we would join the community of intelligent species. Learn from you, trade with you, build a future together, he paused. But we also bring a warning. The same warning you received 60 years ago and ignored. We are not conquerors. We are not empire builders. We just want to live in peace and explore the universe. But if anyone attacks us, if anyone threatens our people or our freedom, we will respond. We will fight. And we will not stop fighting until we win or until we are extinct. There is no third option with us. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. This was not the usual diplomatic speech. It was too direct, too honest, too much like a threat. But Harrison continued. However, we also promise this. We will be the best allies you could ask for. If you need help, we will help. If you face injustice, we will stand with you. If you seek knowledge, we will share what we know. We believe in loyalty, in keeping our word, in standing up for what is right even when it is difficult. He looked around the chamber. You have seen what we can do in war. Now let us show you what we can do in peace. The vote to accept humanity was unanimous. Every species supported it. Even the Gentar delegate voted yes. That was perhaps the biggest surprise. But Commander Zenthor had insisted. He said the hegemony had learned its lesson. Better to have humans as allies than as enemies. After the ceremony, Elder Krathos approached the human delegation. Harrison recognized him from the historical records. This was the alien who had warned the galaxy about humanity. The one no one believed. Elder, Harrison said respectfully. I have read about your warning. About what you told them 60 years ago. You were right. About everything. The Elder looked at him with ancient eyes. Eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. I was only partially right. I warned them about your persistence. Your refusal to give up. But I did not understand the full truth. I thought you were dangerous because you never stopped fighting. But that is not quite accurate. What is the truth then? Harrison asked. You never stop caring, the Elder said simply. That is your real strength. You fight so hard because you care about your people. All your people. You do not leave anyone behind. You do not forget anyone. Every person matters to you. That is why you are unstoppable. Not because you are strong or clever, but because you care enough to keep trying no matter what. He smiled. It was a rare expression for his species. And that is why you will be good for this galaxy. We need species who care, who fight for what is right, who refuse to accept injustice. The Voskor withdrew from galactic politics because we were tired. We had seen too much. But you humans, you are just getting started. You still have hope. Still have fire. Harrison felt humbled. Thank you, Elder. That means a lot coming from you. One more thing, the Elder said. In 30 years there will be a ceremony. On New Hebrides, the colony where your people first resisted the Gentar. They are building a memorial. For all who died in the war, from both sides. I would like to attend. Will you be there? I will, Harrison promised. We will never forget what happened there, what it cost, and what we learned. 20 years passed. The war became history. The generation that fought it grew old. New generations grew up knowing peace. Trade flourished between humans and other species. Cultural exchanges happened. Friendships formed. The galaxy slowly healed, but humans did not forget. In every human school, children learned about the Endeavor, about Captain Santos, about the cost of war, about the value of peace. They learned that strength was not about dominating others. It was about standing up for what was right, protecting those who could not protect themselves. Never giving up on what mattered, humanity became known across the galaxy as the Liberators. When oppressed species needed help, they called on humans. When injustice needed to be confronted, humans stood up, not because they wanted glory, not because they sought power, but because it was right. The Gentar Empire reformed itself. Commander Zenthor led the changes. The hegemony became a federation. Client species became partners. The military culture shifted from conquest to defense. It was not easy. Many resisted. But slowly change happened. Zenthor credited humans with saving his species. You defeated us, but you did not destroy us. You showed us a better way. You proved that strength and compassion are not opposites. They can exist together. We are grateful for that lesson, even if it was painful to learn. On the 30th anniversary of the Treaty of Terra, the memorial on New Hebrides was completed. It was a simple structure. A wall with names. Every human and Gentar who died in the war. Side by side. No separation. No distinction between victor and defeated. Just names. People who would never go home. Elder Krathos attended as promised. He was nearly 800 cycles old now. One of the oldest beings alive. He stood with Ambassador Harrison, now old himself, and looked at the memorial. I tried to warn them, the Elder said quietly. I told them humans were unstoppable. But they did not listen. They thought unstoppable meant invincible. They did not understand the difference. What is the difference? Harrison asked. Invincible means you cannot be hurt. Unstoppable means you keep going even when you are hurt. Humans are not invincible. You bleed. You suffer, you die, but you never stop moving forward. Never stop trying. Never stop hoping. That is what makes you unstoppable, and that is what makes you special. Harrison looked at the names on the wall. He found Captain Santos. His eyes lingered there. She would be proud of what we built. All of us together, humans, Gentar, all the species of the coalition. We turned tragedy into something better. The Elder nodded. That is the human way. You take the broken pieces and build something new. something better. You never let pain stop you from trying to make things right.